So that's where I am on this picture. I've colored in my snake plants and parrot and stuff like that. And yeah, anyway, that's James's soup for today. It has plantains and broccoli, cauliflower, and onion. That's about it, I think. And I'm going to talk about Annika Season 2. Lise Meitner, the mother of the atom bomb. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, 1945. Total Control Season 2. The Good Karma Hospital. And some sort of stupid pet movie. So, that. So, yeah, top of the stack, Annika Season 2. It's a detective story, whatever show from, the police drama, whatever, from Scotland. And there's nice scenery, and it's kind of funny. I don't know. PBS.
PBS, that's strange. From Scotland.
Yeah, anyway,
Well, it's a detective
season,
thing, eh?
Yep.
Nowadays, if it's from England or the British Isles, the lead detective is always a woman. Huh?
Yeah, well, this season was better than the first season. So if you like the first season, you'll for sure like the second. Anyway, James would probably want to talk about this woman because he actually knew
Lise Meitner. See, I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah.
So she's the one who, I think it was, they were the first to kind of detect the splitting of the atom and stuff like that. They didn't actually, so far as I know, really engineer it. I don't know if they actually knew what was going on. So the guy that she worked with, there were a couple of guys, I think, but the main guy, I'm going to say Fritz, but it's Otto Hahn, I believe, H-A-H-N, Hahn. I knew a guy, his name was Hohn, H-O-H-N, and that means to scorn something. And he lived up to the last name.
Oh.
He's scornful. And then he worked for the city, he got overweight, and everyone scorned him. Anyway, he didn't have much to be scornful over. But anyway, yeah, he's from Stirling. Not a Mormon. Well, actually, a lot of the Mormons had German names, but they didn't have German accents. Did he have German accents? I can't remember. Anyway, she didn't get the Nobel Prize, even though she was apparently the theorist. Hahn was a chemist, actually, weirdly enough, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure if he won the Nobel Prize for chemistry, physics, or whatever for this discovery. Now, Lise Meitner, I believe, was Jewish. And she made it, I believe, to the United States. I don't think she made much of a contribution to developing the atomic bomb. And it was an important thing to do because the Germans developed a lot of things. They were ahead. For example, they developed jet planes before the end of World War II. And they'd be a lot faster than planes. But, they wouldn't have been able to develop many of them.
Oh, yeah, I put butternut squash in it.
And then they developed missiles that were remotely controlled. Well, not really remotely controlled. I think they were kind of set on a course. They controlled within. And then they developed, the V-1 was that way. The V-2 was a rocket ship. So it was the first rocket ship developed. They caused some panic and that sort of stuff. The rocket ship went faster than sound, so you'd get bombed before you heard it. They caused some devastation and havoc and stuff like that. The Nazis being Nazis, they loved attacking civilians and things like that. They started in Guernica, actually, even before World War II officially started with that, in 1937. frankly, I think World War II started in 37, both in the Asian theater with Japan attacking China then, and 37 with the commies and the Nazis and fascists going against each other in Spain. And that war wasn't settled until 39, when the war officially began in Poland. So yeah, I really that war was about commies fighting Nazis and stuff like that. Two socialist kind of systems, fascists in Italy. The Phalangists weren't really socialists. They were more, they styled themselves as Latter-day Crusaders and stuff like that. So they were just, they allied with the fascists and Nazis, but they were a different breed. Mussolini and Hitler wasn't really an atheist or an agnostic. He would have believed in the Teutonic religion, ancient pantheistic religion. He would have worshipped Wotan, that's the German version of Odin, or in English Woden, and stuff like that. Mussolini harked back to classical times. I think he was probably thoroughgoing agnostic or atheist, but maybe he wanted to worship the old Roman gods because he harked back to classical times. He had a claim on Libya because he figured it had one time been a Roman imperial holding, and he was right. Him attacking Ethiopia about 35, 36, I don't think the Romans ever had much of a hold there, but irredentism, I think that's called, where you say, oh, we used to own that territory, we've got the right to it. Now understand, it's awful when white folks do that, but it's mighty awful when anyone does that. So, understand that Muslims figure they've got a claim on Spain. They held parts of it for 781 years, got a right to pretty well all of southeastern Europe, but that would include Hungary, all of it. You listening to me? Hungary, all of it. Serbia, Croatia, Macedonia, Kosovo and Albania are controlled by Muslims. Those folks tend to be Muslim. But Greece, the Muslims, they believe that anything that they've controlled in the past, anything they've conquered or surrendered to them, they have a right to. You listening to me? You don't believe me? Do some reading. Okay, go on.
All right. Well, the documentary, I found it incredibly boring, but it is informative. So.
Well, exactly right. So, were they saying? What can you say? I mean, she was just there at the beginning. She just I think they just kind of noticed something weird happening. They didn't. The first controlled. You have to control that process of the atom breaking down or the nucleus breaking down, and that was envisioned by a little guy called. He claimed, I think, he was at a stop, a pedestrian stop,
street light, yeah,
and maybe a street light. Did they actually mention that?
Well, I think so. I read the same book you did.
So it was
book.
Yeah, exactly right. So he was a wee little gay Jewish Hungarian fellow, and he later helped turn bomb seekers over to maybe he was a bit of a commie, a fellow traveling to the Russians, apparently. And then the guy who got the first control. I mean, you can split the atom and have a chain reaction, just blow up your laboratory. And, this was actually underneath the playing field at the University of Chicago. You can imagine that. If it had not been controlled, Chicago would be off limits to everyone. But they wouldn't have enough to cause real damage. Anyway, that was Enrico Fermi, who was an Italian physicist, maybe you could call him a chemist as well. And he was married to even though he's thoroughly Italian, he was married to a Jewish woman. So he came over to the United States quite late, actually. Thank heavens he did. Helped develop the bomb. It was important.
Right. Well,
saved lots of lives. Killed a few to save many, many, many. Many Chinese, Koreans, and Vietnamese people. And Japanese people, too, really. Anyway, go on.
All right, so third in the stack was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I did not expect this to get third in the stack. Because when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, I thought, this is so stupid, who would care about this? And I couldn't understand why people did. And yet, here they are. People are caring about them again. But the animation was interesting. And well done. And, I don't know. Seth Rogen had a lot to do with this. So maybe if you like Seth Rogen, you might like this. I fell asleep. But honestly, I didn't expect to stay awake for as long as I did. Like, some of the movies, like I did an Indiana Jones review yesterday. That one, I watched right through. Like, and I didn't expect to. I put it on. And then I was doing some art or something, not paying attention to it, right? And then I realized, no, I want to watch this. So I rewound it and watched it. And I watched it without doing anything else. And if I left the room to go grab a snack or whatever, I paused it and went back to it. But movies like this, well, I don't pause it when I leave the room, and I might not come back for half an hour. And if, like in this case, I fell asleep, I didn't rewind it and want to watch what I missed. Who cares? But yeah, better than I thought it would be. 1945. Now, I expected a lot of great things from this because it says top 10 film of the year! Exclamation mark. And all the stuff, and it's black and white, and I guess it's supposed to be pretty artful, but it has subtitles. So something has to be really good for me to bother to sit down and watch it, because I'm going to have to read it, so I won't be able to do anything else, like artwork or anything while I'm watching the film. So, not good enough. Total Control Season 2, this was awful. It has that woman from 6 Feet Under that we couldn't stand.
Oh, her.
Yeah. And it's set in Australia and whatever, I guess. But I don't know.
I wonder if she's Australian.
Well, I bet she is. Anyway. Good Karma Hospital Series 4. I can't believe this has lived for 4 seasons already. This is so bad.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. It kind of reminds me of Road to Avonlea sort of thing. It's like some idealistic thing about India or whatever, and it's like you see some people riding in on a train to the Good Karma Hospital, and the train has like 5 people riding in, just comfortably seated in the train. It's like, what? There's not people hanging off the sides and like crowded with a goat on the roof or whatever. Like, what's this?
Is that supposed to be current, like modern?
I don't.
It looks that way.
I don't know.
Anyway, they might have had Europeans on first class carriages.
Anyway, yeah, and they're putting a lot of politics in and stuff, stupid politics. Like, at one point there was somebody that was sick with some sort of a plague, and they're like, oh, we have to bring her into the hospital or she'll die, and they're like, but she'll infect everyone else in the hospital, so we'll have to vacate the hospital. And so they're like totally devoting their surgical room, whatever, to keeping her, and they have 3 people in there trying to keep her alive. And so how many people were dying while they were trying to keep one person alive and risking their own health? So they risk so many people dying in the future if they're not there to help them. It's ridiculous. And then, like, and the quarantine, it wasn't even like they had the door taped up at one point and they're like, "Oh, you need a shower." And it's like, where have they been peeing? You know, it's like, it's ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And before that point, I mean, they walked through the whole hospital to get there, and, you know, they had the door, the flaps open, one, like, back and forth, and somebody's going in, and some people are standing right on the outside looking through the window, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're contaminated too. Like, just stupid. Just so stupid.
Yeah, that's what happens when drama majors do their rendering of reality.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie. This was so stupid. I don't know if this Paw Patrol thing, if they're little figurines that people buy, or I have no idea if this was just a marketing thing, but this was such an aggressive propagandist movie. It's ridiculous. I can't imagine any child would like to watch this. It was like they had all the kind of aggressive propaganda slogans, you know, marketing slogans like I can't think of one right now. But I don't know. Just like team building kind of motivational
there's no I in
speaking.
team.
Yeah, stupid things like that. You know, they had all sorts of things in here that trying to.
People who say that don't realize that the me is in team. Just all scratched up.
Yeah.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
They fool a few people that way. Most people, I think.
Anyway, yeah, this was so stupid. And the animation was just like generic sort of computer generated sort of stuff, whatever. Not good enough for a mainstream movie nowadays, I don't think. So honestly, it was just bad. I can't imagine anybody would want to watch this. So if you're wanting to pick out one of these, I mean, both of these cartoons that I've reviewed are dumb, but one of these for your kids to watch during Christmas when they have nothing to do because you didn't have the sense to buy them a book, a game or a puzzle or something like that, then I guess the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I mean, you're gonna have to listen to it in the background unless they have headphones or something like that. So either way, anyway, whatever. You want to talk some more about stuff?
How was this being presented? Like she was denied Nobel Prize because she was a woman?
Yeah, like she should have gotten some recognition.
Well, she should have. I'm not sure why she didn't. It might have been that she was just seen as deserting Germany or something like that. Might have been because she was Jewish, not necessarily because she was a woman. Because she'd been preceded by a considerable amount of time. We'll say about 40 years, by a woman called Marie Curie, who won it. She might have won 2 Nobel Prizes, but I think it was at least one. She had an element called curium named after her. So. She was approximately a generation before. I don't know. I'm a little suspicious of the feminist angle on that one. Marie Curie would come to the conferences, the top physicists, Einstein, Niels Bohr. I think they were held in Norway, Solvay maybe, or something like that. Heisenberg, Schopenhauer, she'd be there. So.
Well, you have almost 10 minutes if you want to talk about something.
What else were we talking about? Which movie?
Nothing.
There was something that I wanted.
1945? I mean, it would have been something. What there would you have possibly been interested in?
What were the movies just reviewing again?
Nothing that you'd be interested in.
There was something that I maybe wanted to make a comment.
Karma Hospital? Australia stupid politics show?
Yeah, something about the hospital.
Okay, good Karma Hospital.
What was I going to say? Kind of been that important. So in between arranging my books, I'll only have so much back to deal with the books and boxes and stuff like that. We're doing a lot of crossword puzzles, particularly German, some Dutch, some Spanish, weirdly enough, and some English. But I've been reading Will Chamberlain's something like his autobiography. It's hilarious. I'm going to mention that. I'm going to review it, of course, but then I'll finish it. But it was published in 1991, more than a generation ago. And even then, he was feeling a little bit hard done by. And I'm telling you, he was right. I mean, he was saying, people say Bill Russell, back then, greatest basketball player ever because he won the most championships. And then he mentions Bill Russell basically just played defense and rebounded. Blocked shots, rebounded, but what Will says is, usually I'd block more shots than him. And the difference is, Will Chamberlain holds the record. Now, a basketball team is having a good day when it scores 100 points. One time, Will Chamberlain scored 100 points on his lonesome. So he has one score sheet of him against Boston Celtics. Bill Russell playing against him. Will Chamberlain says, I wasn't playing against Bill Russell. I was doubled and tripled teamed. Boston had a good team. And they knew how to play defense. They knew how to play team defense. And what they do is they just gang up 2 or 3 of them, not just Bill Russell, on Will Chamberlain. And even then, here's the score sheet. Bill Russell, 2 shots made out of 5 attempted. That's 40% shooting, which for a big guy isn't really that good. Big guys can dunk. They could back then. Wow. 2 out of 5 shooting. He had 1 foul shot. I mean, it wasn't as though he was putting pressure on whichever team this was. I think it was the LA Lakers. He wasn't putting huge, big pressure on the Lakers because he got 1 foul on them. Hey, we better watch out. Bill Russell's coming down the lane. He'll run into us. He's so clumsy. So, don't get in his way. So he missed that 1 foul shot. Everyone's saying Will Chamberlain was lousy at foul shots. He had 17 foul shots, and not 17 fouls. Some of them would be shooting fouls. But he got over 50% of them, 9 of them, 9 out of the 17. And rebounds, I think Bill Russell got something like 14, which is a good number. Nowadays, 10 is considered awesome. Wilt got something like 36. Up against big Bill Russell. About the same height as Wilt. But Wilt says he had a 50-inch, what is that, 4 feet? 50-inch, can you imagine that? A big 7-foot, 300-pound guy clearing 4 feet.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I used to like him when I was a kid. I never saw him play. It wasn't until we were on the internet for a while there. Okay. Around 2019. So he retired in 74, and I was watching highlights. And he was jumping around like a flea in a fit. But, he was strong. He was apparently something like national champion or state champion in the shot put. Usually you see big thuggish guys, but he was thin as a rake. But when you get that much power behind it, and then the speed,
He was fast. He said he outdid, and I believe him, outraced Jim Brown, who was considered for his time in the 60s, maybe late 50s too, the best running back in the NFL, in the world. Outdid him in a race. I couldn't believe how fast he was, and of course the jumping ability was stunning. But here's the thing, all you the bum lovers, I'm not really a hater. I'm not a big fan of it, all those lovers going around saying he's a goat and that sort of stuff. You know, Wilt says they changed the rules for me. He was a lousy, he said he was an 80% free throw shooter in high school, and then he bummed one of his knees. And he couldn't bend his legs anymore. That's what you're supposed to do when you shoot, is bend your legs. And then he developed a complex about it. So what he wanted to do was, and he could do it. Have you seen how far out players are when they shoot a free throw?
Yeah.
A foul shot?
Yeah, far.
He could dunk from there. He could dunk the ball from there.
So what, he'd take a run at it? And wow.
Wham! And the NBA said, you can't do that anymore. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Like just
I mean, that
wham!
the fans would love seeing it.
Of course.
Why did they take that away?
Well, they hated him, you know, because he was the first maybe black super star and stuff like that, and he was stunning. The records that he set was just like it's considered incredible for a player to average 20 points per game. 1 year, Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 plus points per game. Try that out, LeBum. Try that.